Hello.
Hello.
And Zen just watched my new short and feels icky, and I understand.
Oh, I haven't watched your new short yet. I guess I'll watch it later and feel icky also.
Yeah, I think everyone should.
All right. Something to look forward to.
I played the song, for Jenna, and before I published it, and she's like, "I feel uncomfortable," and I was like, "Perfect."
You're like, too bad. Well, before we start, we have some very special birthday greetings.
Yes.
So first of all, happy birthday, Rico. We love you so much.
Stan.
We love you so much. Happy birthday, and happy birthday to brother Dan.
Daniel Velez.
Happy birthday. Thank you for being part of this community. So it's kind of a big day. You know, 2 big birthdays from 2 of our most important people.
So. Is anyone else having a birthday today? I didn't even check the calendar. I just looked at
I am not good at keeping up on that. That is a Foxanne job.
Yeah, for sure.
But you know what? I don't even fucking say hi to you assholes when you come in. So there.
We're such dicks. Yeah.
If you want a kinder, gentler stream, this ain't it.
We McStreamy is more of the like greet everyone and come in as we can.
It is. I mean, we don't actively tell you to leave, but
no. You're welcome to leave.
Moose says happy birthday to me. It is not my birthday, Moose.
Unhinged.
My birthday was in December. It was long ago. So, yeah.
You share a birthday with Bentley Pasco. I share a birthday with
Dan. Emily. And Emily Bougie is
really?
Fish.
Nice.
We are birthday triplets, the 3 of us. So...
No Zen, no haircut. This is it's too long and it's getting in my face. So just whoop back.
I tried to catch Fat Kitty. I couldn't catch him. Couldn't catch him.
Got it. Comb back. Use the headphones to capture it in place so it doesn't fall in my face. And eventually, one of these days, I will leave midday to go get a haircut or learn to cut my own hair.
I got a haircut, but it looks no different. No different. As Jake says, my hair looks the same. It's the same every day. It's not exciting.
It's been a while since you've gotten the teal streak in there.
Yeah. I mean, lately I've just been dyeing it brown, which is a lot less upkeep. Maybe I'll go back to the teal. I mean, at least like I had noticeable hairstyle with that. I have pretty boring hair.
Oh, I did not take a photo of the orchid. If Jenna feels so inclined to do that and send me the picture, I can show it. It's
just
still
bring you the orchid. Is it planted yet?
It's in the little basket in the tank.
Oh, okay.
Photo would be better. So we got a question from Coro. If I could only keep one plant in my tanks for the rest of my life, what are my choices?
All right. Well,
this
is a Steven question. So.
Well, are you going to answer this question? Because I don't like this question at all.
No, actually, I do know what it would be. It's Java Fern Narrowleaf. Really? You can do a whole scape with Java Fern Narrowleaf, and it's beautiful, and it looks amazing. And I can't imagine not having Java Fern Narrowleaf. It looks a lot better with CO2, in my opinion. It will still, like, grow without it, but, like... It looks way better with it. All the other Java ferns, they're fine, but they are not as good as narrowleaf.
Well, you know what? Since Bucephalandra is unclassified, I can technically just keep all the boosts, right? And it would
why not?
Variety.
Why not?
If I chose crypt, I guess I'd have to pick one species of crypt, which I wouldn't want to do. So I choose all the boosts.
Cool. Whereas I'm just picking the narrowleaf. I mean, the others, they're fine, but the narrowleaf is clearly superior. I mean, because I have like trident and stuff, but honestly, if I got rid of that and only had the narrowleaf, maybe I'd be a happier person. I don't know.
Yeah, and like Emily said, if one plant or one species. Like if it's one species, I couldn't pick one crypt. But
well, there are multiple species of crypts, but if you just picked crypt wentii, there are a million of them. So I guess that would give you a lot of variety.
Yeah,
but
some of them are annoying.
You can't really do escape though, just with crypt wentii, but I think you can with Java fern narrowleaf because it's an epiphyte and it can grow at different levels. So that's what I'm going with. It's also easy to grow. Even if I had harder water than I could do, I could still manage. Lisa the Wolf has a question.
Does Purigen impact plant growth at all? My floating lettuce has recently been less robust, and the main change was Purigen. I can't imagine how Purigen would negatively impact.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, Purigen, it removes organic acids. In theory, organic acids could be reducing your KH, but realistically not enough to change anything.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Like that's the thing, the floating lettuce being less robust. And like the lettuce, it gets all of its CO2 from the atmosphere. It gets nutrients from the water.
But I
Purigen
mean, like,
doesn't bind with
the water would be less tannic.
Fertilizer.
The water would be less tannic though. Maybe the rates would prefer that, but I don't think so. In my experience, water lettuce, if you have a ton of flow at the surface, it's not going to like that. If your lights are too close to it and it scalds it, doesn't like that as much. But I don't know. I just think water lettuce is an outdoor plant, and I just don't like to grow it indoors. I don't like floaters.
Yeah, I mean, outdoors for me, it gets huge. Indoors in a tank, it stays small.
Yeah,
and I've grown it. There is no tank where I'm like, oh gee, the water lettuce didn't do well. As long as the surface moved, like as long as you're not constantly getting water on the leaves, really.
To be fair, there's no tank I've ever thought, wow, water lettuce would make this better. So, I mean, the thing about water lettuce is it does grow to the size of the vessel. There's no such thing as dwarf water lettuce. You can take from a big pond, like a 20-foot pond, and the rosettes will be like that big around.
Yep.
And you can move that to a smaller pond, and the rosettes will be like that. And then you can move that in your tank inside, and they'll just be little leaflet pairs. And you can take it the other way too. It really does change morphology in response to its space. I need to remove the Purigen if I'm treating with Maricin? I think you should. I can't say for certain that it has affinity to the Maricin.
I believe CChem says to remove it when you're using medication.
I would, just to be as a precaution, like you would want to remove carbon when you're treating with Maricin. Yeah, I would take it out. I mean, you can always put it back when you're done if you want. I mean, you can use it as an opportunity to recharge your Purigen, which I can't remember how you do that. You do that with like bleach or something?
Yeah, it's bleach. You do half bleach, half water.
Yeah.
And then soak it for a while in dechlorinated water. Andrew is in here, and Andrew, I slept through bingo this morning. I just could not get up. I was up till after 4 last night. I've been trying to stop doing that as much.
You got to, because the time change is coming next week. You're gonna die.
Yeah, I know.
You're gonna die.
It always happens that way too.
So good lately because like the sun is finally coming up later, and so like when I want to wake up, it's light out in the morning, and so it's really easy to wake up. Now I've been really consistently waking up at 8 a.m., but like it's not gonna matter because the bad time's coming.
Yeah, and I always there's never been a time I remember in recent years where I am not awake and watching that time flip over from either 1 o'clock back to 1 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So yeah, Laura says she uses floating plants to block sunlight. Yeah, if you got some tanks in the window and it works that way. It's just
I'm blocking my my window up here. I'm blocking it with enormous Chihiro's fixtures that pump out more light. It's really not relevant considering how much light I'm putting on with those. Also, this is a north-facing window.
You have like 2 suns on your tank.
Well, the outdoor sun is pretty minor because it's a north-facing window, and my neighbor's garage is
Yeah, I'm counting the 2
10
lights
feet away.
in one
Yeah,
sun each.
yeah. The outdoor sun doesn't account for much. In fact, that's why I have to put clip-on lights on the top for the the house plants growing immersed, because the window light it's not enough. It's just not enough to get them there. So
Dennis says no plants yet. I sent Dennis's plants along with a couple of other people on February 11th. It is now March 3rd. So I am absolutely reshipping those plants. I'm been monitoring tracking for the last batch that we sent last week. There's already one that went into the in transit, arriving late, no more delivery date. That one's going to MNC, and he also wanted some Rotala H-Ra in there, so I'm going to reship that for sure.
I mean,
post office is not being nice to me.
No, it's not being nice to me either. So my bank card was supposed to expire this month, and the bank sent one out on February 18th.
Ooh.
And there was a glitch in their system. Usually they don't cancel your card until you get the new one. Well, they canceled it the moment they sent it. So from February 18th till when it arrived, I technically didn't have a bank card. And it took until Saturday for it to arrive. But I was able to at least upload the new card to my Apple Wallet, so I could tap to pay, and I could still use PayPal. But we were at the grocery store and I had my phone with me. I'm like, Jake, you just gotta get this. I don't have any bank card. But I have one now. But still, from February 18th to March 1st, shouldn't take that long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should send that a month before it expires instead of waiting.
Yeah. So bleach can expire. So yes and no. So bleach does, it is less effective over time. So for instance, in the lab, we used to buy 20% reagent grade bleach, which I think is 10 times as strong as commercial bleach. And it would last 2-3 months before it was less effective. And your bleach does get less effective over time, but it's already so effective and you're diluting it. You could just use a little bit more of it and it's probably still fine. It's still going to be pretty effective. It's not like it turns to water and salt completely.
Yeah. So, she said she tried to recharge some Purigen with some old bleach and it did not work. I have found sometimes it takes a few agitate the Purigen bags inside the bleach just to get the bleach to penetrate inside the mesh bag. And then of course, I assume that you tried with new bleach and then it did clear it up, or maybe it just took a second soaking when they get a little bit older. I don't know. I got fed up with Purigen and
I mean, you can, and you can only refresh it a certain number of times, until it just won't. Yeah, I don't use Purigen because I don't have wood in my tanks. That solved that problem. I prefer rocks. I just don't really like to use wood. What is the best plant and why? Oh, well.
Is it Java Fern Narrowleaf for you?
I mean, I think it's tomatoes. They're the tastiest plant. I mean, you didn't specify.
Yeah, because there's also cannabis.
I mean, I don't like cannabis personally, so I'd rather, and you can't really. I mean, yes, you can eat cannabis, but not as great of a quantity as you can tomatoes. So I'm gonna go with tomatoes. Tomatoes are the best plant. As for in my tank, I mean, my favorite plant is Crinum calamistratum. I really
I
like that plant.
still have not owned Crinum calamostratum.
Yeah, I mean, you probably
Gotta make
want to
some
put it in
room.
your 90. It's pretty big.
Yeah, and you
It's not,
see to the left there, that freaking Aponigeton crispus,
yeah.
it is taking over. And
If you were to remove that, you could
I would have
replace
to
it
remove
with
it,
the
yeah.
crinum, and you probably like it quite a bit.
But it's also
My
doing a
crinum is
great job of hiding the giant intake sponge for
my
this
crinum
filter.
is currently died back.
Oh,
So
really?
I
Like a
don't know what's
seasonal
up
thing?
with no, I don't know what's up with it. I don't know what's up with it. So I have to like the problem is that it's really, really far in the back. I can't really see back there. I can barely reach back there. But I would have to get a ladder and climb up to look in the back because it's behind lots of other stuff. So I'm not sure. All
Well,
right,
I'm
Zenny
still
says
voting that Crips are the best plant for me.
crypts are a good plant. Yeah, sure. Why not? It's a good
Um,
choice. I like crypts.
so hold that thought, Zen's question, because Jenna sent me the picture of the orchid. So few of us on the Discord decided we're gonna try some orchids. So
Cool. So
I
it's
went
some kind of
ahead,
phalaenopsis.
yeah. I got this little basket here, and it's even kind of elevated
Nice.
above the tank. So the roots are just kind of like just the tip of the roots are in water. And right now they're still on their stabilizing stakes there. And what I'm thinking is taking this piece of manzanita wood that I have here and attaching it somewhere on the lattice, and then just kind of letting the orchid drape over that. And then it'll kind of hang above the tank. It'll have like a little moisture humidity bed sort of going on, since it's a lidless tank. And we will see how that goes.
Cool. And I have apothecary baskets in my 90 that I can use, but I'll probably just tuck one or two of them in my hydroponic wall. That's probably what I do. I think they'll do really well in that. If they're going to do well at all. I think that's the
Yeah.
way. Because I don't have to worry about them like falling below the surface of the water or, yeah. So I think that's what I'll do next time at the grocery store or Trader Joe's. I'll get one. They're pretty cheap. Yeah. All right. Zenny says, so if I have a Nubius, is this like this is a hypothetical? Like, do you or do you not have a Nubius then? That
I don't think
isn't
she wants to
attached.
say. She's asking for a friend.
Okay. That isn't attached to anything. Can I just trap the long roots into the aqua soil and let it sort of float and absorb nutrients as long as the rhizome is well above? You can. I think it's kind of hard for it to stay anchored. You also need to make sure that you have pretty good circulation in your tank. So there was discussion about this apparently with Luke Wong in
Yeah,
his
on
presentation,
Saturday.
which
And
I
he's
wasn't at
done.
this.
Yeah.
So
Well, basically, what he was saying is there are circumstances where you can bury the rhizome. It's just you don't tell a beginner to do that, because a beginner has gravel or sand, or and there when you say bury the
tons of
rhizome,
mold.
they're going to shove that thing down to the
Yeah.
glass. So if the rhizome needs oxygen, it needs flow.
Mhm.
And one amazing thing about aqua soil, in addition to the nutrients it can hold on to, is that it allows for a lot of flow. So you can put that rhizome just below the surface of the aqua soil.
I still
And
wouldn't bury it the whole way. I would have it
no,
near the top.
but
But
you can. I wouldn't. I have done it. I don't do it a lot, but it can be done. It's just there's the nuance in there, knowing that the rhizome needs that
yeah,
kind of flow.
I wouldn't. I
Have
don't
you ever
see.
done it?
I have. I don't see the need to do it. If I want to have an Anubias at substrate level, I think the better thing to do is to glue it to a really small rock. And then you can move it around.
That works. I mean, you got to
Yeah.
weight it down, because it is, even
Yeah.
when you have it in aqua soil is very loose and fluffy. And
Yeah.
so just a big chunky corridor could knock it out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I think that's why I think that's just a better way to go. And then the roots actually will grow over the surface of that rock and they'll anchor in the substrate. So I think that's a better way to do it. But if you use sand, I wouldn't do it. If you
No.
use a layered substrate, I wouldn't do it. It
But if
really
you can get
does.
those roots into the substrate, that's fantastic.
Yeah, because it will pull up nutrients that way. If you have a really mulmy substrate, I also wouldn't do it. All
There's been
right.
some sort of natural disaster, Coro says, and you're completely out of food. What fish are you cooking for dinner?
I mean, I guess
the-
my rainbows, but they're the biggest fish I have. But
The ghost knife. Sorry,
I
Jenna.
have a
The big
really,
one, though.
really big pantry that I think I would. I mean, I would eat the contents of the fridge.
Yeah, he says you are completely out of food.
Completely out of food. And I could eat the fish food first, I guess.
That's food. You're out of that.
Well, I guess the rainbows are the biggest, so there you go.
And you've already eaten the cats?
You know, the cats would fucking take off. They'd be like,
Yeah.
look, you know.
They'd figure it out.
Yeah, they'd figure it out. They would eat the fish. I mean, yeah, I think they would take off. So it's a lot of hypothetical questions today.
Yeah, we're behind, so I'm scrolling through. So why crinum?
It's very pretty. It's really cool looking. It's got crinkly octopus-like leaves. Has a good growth habit. I don't know. Looks cool. Foxanne had hers bloom, and it was really, really pretty. I haven't had mine bloom.
Oh yeah, she sent me a video of the flower.
Big white flowers. It's really pretty. She has a short of it on her channel, so you can look that up.
Do it, Rebecca. She wants to try orchids.
Why not, Rebecca?
Orchids.
Go for it.
Everybody
do it, Brooklyn. All the cool kids are doing it.
At least one of us is going to make it work, and then we can just do what the other person did.
I plan to put zero effort into it beyond plunking it in my hydroponic wall. That's it. I don't think there's anything else I can do for it. So.
Let's see. Yeah, Zen needs to rewatch Luke's talk. It was a good one. Nice flow chart. Or what did you call it? I just called it a flow chart.
Dichotomous key. So a dichotomous key is what botanists have used for centuries to classify anything. So they're always like A or B. It's not A or B or C. It's always A or B. So, you know, it could be like stamens attached, stamens free. If it's stamens attached, you go down to the next level, and then you eventually get to classifying your plants. So, and you can buy dichotomous keys for keying out outdoor plants or forest plants or whatever. You know, before Google Lens, this is how people had to use their brains to do things. Now, I guess you can just walk around with Google Lens and have it do your thinking for you. So,
yep.
Buy another blood spatter orchid. That sounds violent. I gave up on orchids with my greenhouse debacle, but I love them so much. Have I ever grown an orchid? I don't think I have.
Well, I'm going to try it this way, and if I fail, I'm going to wait for someone else to be successful. I'm not going to try again.
Yeah, I mean, I figure I'll buy one of them from the grocery store, and if it dies, I'm out like what, $20? They're not that much money. So I don't really get depressed if a houseplant dies. They are plentiful.
It's just a learning experience for me.
Yeah. And there are other plants that will grow. Like if that doesn't grow, there are other plants.
OMG like button and stuff. Zen has noticed.
Or dislike it. That's fine too. Or reserve your judgment. Make us earn it.
But don't forget to hit the button regardless.
Yeah.
Important. I
think. Steven needs the feedback for his stream.
I'm not going to change anything, but the feedback is great.
Feedback is important. You know, I remember once I was looking at like some reviews for like when I was a professor, and Jake and I had just started dating. I call him up just devastated. And he's like, Kelly, what are you looking at those for? He's like, I don't look at feedback of any of the classes I teach. I'm not changing anything for those assholes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the good practice is don't read the comments in any case when you're like the masses get an opportunity to review you as a person.
Yeah, I mean, a
Probably not a
19-year-old
healthy thing
with
to
an
do.
axe to grind should not be in charge of your career advancement.
No,
Yeah,
probably not.
yeah. Moose asks, can I use lasagna as a substrate? It's a vegetarian lasagna. Maybe you should use baked ziti as your substrate.
Use what?
Baked ziti, you know,
Oh,
a
yeah.
different baked
I don't
pasta.
like ricotta, so
That's true. So, do you just not like lasagna?
I will tolerate lasagna, and not all lasagna has ricotta. I
This
don't
is
know if that
true.
makes it not a true lasagna.
Well, I
I
mean, like
enjoy it less with less ricotta.
a lasagna bolognese, I don't think you would like either because that's made with a bechamel, and you don't like creamy white sauces.
I can tolerate them too in reasonable amounts.
Yeah. I mean, I never use straight ricotta. I would always mix it with other cheeses.
And most of the substitutes for ricotta are kind of gross too.
I'm pretty pro lasagna. I mean, I only make them. The problem is, like, it's really hard if you're lactose intolerant, and I can't eat a lasagna alone. So, and
Yeah.
Jake just cannot take his lactose. Can't handle
Mm.
it.
How do you get rid of aphids in the tanks? What do they look like in the tanks?
Yeah, so I've
They're not the
had aphids.
springtails, right?
I've
The
had
little
aphids on my house plants before. So there are aphids that look different. Some of them are greenish specks, some of them are grayish. And you
maybe I
can
just
just,
can't see them well.
I mean, you could see them. They're visible. But if you just take the plant and dunk it completely in the water, your fish will eat it. I've had a big problem with aphids on my pond plants outside, and there's not a lot you can do to control them, unfortunately, because you can't spray anything around fish. So, like, they'll always say, like, oh, you can use neem oil. Well, not with fish. Like, that's not safe. Or even like insecticidal soap. That's not safe for your fish. So you can try hosing them off outside. I mean, it does some, but not really. Outside, though, what I have found to be the best is what was I using? Hang on. It's an insect. Was it mayfly larvae? So the
You could
mayflies
deploy a
are
bunch of ladybugs.
no, well, so the ladybugs aren't really as voracious and they don't stay is the problem. But these mayflies, so the larvae are incredibly voracious and they're native to where I live. So I don't feel bad about releasing them. But I would buy cards of the eggs, and the mayfly larvae would just eat hundreds and hundreds of aphids each one. And it really does control the problem. In your house, you probably don't want to do that. And so I would say just dunk them in the tank. Like the plant, just dunk it in there and the fish will eat all of it. They love them. They're live food. But you may have to toss a plant if it's badly infested. Certainly quarantine it if you can, because you don't want it to spread to your other plants. But you can't spray anything that I've found. There's nothing that's fish safe.
Is there a particular plant that they plague the most in the house?
Inside, I've had a little bit of it on God, I can't even remember what plant that was on. What was that on? I know it was on the right side, but I don't remember what plant it was on. It was so easy to get rid of, though, because I just dunked it in a tank. It just depends. But outside, like my lotuses are just a magnet for them.
I mean, right now I'm grow like the out of the tank stuff is the easy things like the pothos and the monstera and
Never
the
had a problem with
philodendron
those.
and
Never had a problem with those. I can't remember which plant was getting the aphids, but those are not a problem. It's quarantining is a good process. I mean, some people who have like really expensive large houseplant collections, every time they bring in a new plant, we'll quarantine it. And that's not a bad idea.
Though would be dunk the leaves. If I had an issue like that and my options were all these treatments or throw the plant away or dunk the leaves, I think it would be like dunk the leaves, and then if that doesn't work, throw the plant
I would
away.
try dunking it, but if it starts to spread, that's where the problem is, because like you don't want all your stuff. I mean, I was okay with just dunking it, though. Outside, though, dunking it was just never going to get me there. The infestation was so bad. But the mayfly larvae. So, and I would suggest for your garden, if you have a plant that's problematic, like roses, they're very prone to aphid attack. And I'm going to do this next year. Start before there's a problem with the mayfly larvae. They're not expensive. You can get some shipped to your house every like 4 to 6 weeks, and you can spread how you put the eggs out, because you can keep them in the refrigerator, and you can just put out a few of the cards at a time of the eggs, and so you'll get a staggered release of them, and it really does make a difference. And the goal is to get a natural population built up in your yard, because they are native to here, and they will hopefully stick around and lay eggs and keep that going, so you have more natural predator control in your garden. But I have a huge problem with my lotuses. Roses are also pretty famous for being a problem. I've tried trap crops, doesn't work. Like supposedly nasturtiums are a good trap crop. No, I feel like it just recruits them to it.
I wonder why I haven't seen bugs on plants in here other than just the springtails on the surface of the water.
I don't know.
I am just like,
I don't have a huge problem with it. I've had like white flies before. Scale insects are a problem sometimes, but you are not such a huge houseplant grower that you've had that many problems yet. Like, think about how many fish diseases do you really encounter? Like, not that many.
Oh, I mean, a lot in my first year, and then in recent years, like hardly.
But pests aren't like that. I mean, like bringing in a fish that's sick.
Right.
It's not.
I guess so.
Many.
The more I grow, because like I went from no houseplants to now like
I would still say like compared to a houseplant collector, you still have almost no houseplants.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that's why you don't have, and like, you don't have a huge garden of plants either.
Yeah.
So you just don't have enough. Yeah, you don't have enough plants to have a problem.
Well, I look forward to my first pest bug in my houseplants. It's a rite of passage, I guess.
I mean, for me, the lotus pests have just been the worst. I've had some problem with. So it seems like it was a bigger problem in this part of the United States like 10 years ago. So there's been kind of a radiation of this pest from east to west. So they're the Japanese beetles, and they were introduced from Asia quite a while ago, but they're starting to get natural predators in the US now, but like they've chewed up my cannas. They also chew up roses and flowers, but they aren't as bad as they used to be. Like I remember, when I was in like grad school, they would just decimate my garden. And it seems like as the infestation, first it reaches an area and everything is devastated and they proliferate like crazy. And then something learns to eat it. And so you have some natural control and it's not quite so bad. But so that was a bad pest. I would just flick them off the plants.
So Dennis Engel, I'll let you answer this first because I already know your answer. What do you think of the Milwaukee pH controller? Seems like a no-brainer. Pros and cons.
Seems like made by a company with no-brainer. I don't trust Milwaukee.
Makes a lot of stuff, though.
They make a lot of stuff, but I don't trust that company because they make the shittiest regulators. And other people, too. They make bad regulators. Here's the thing. I worked in a lab, and I've worked in labs for many, many years with $10,000 pH controllers, and they are frequently kind of shitty. So I don't know how much a Milwaukee pH controller costs, but it is well under $10,000. And so I don't really trust it either. It's just another point to fail. So why would I use it when like the the CO2 can just come on at the same time every morning and turn off at the same time? And I know it's never going to get above a certain threshold level where the fish are in danger. So why do I need another thing that can fail? Like it's just another thing that can fail.
Yeah, that's the thing. The controller part of it is what concerns me. Whenever I gassed all my
Yeah.
fish that one time, I thought about getting a pH controller. And then I thought, actually, instead of trying to automate this, I really need to get a handle on how this whole CO2 injection thing works and be responsible. And so I like quintupled down on my CO2 injection, and I learned a lot. And one thing that I have used are those continuous pH monitors, and there is a drift in the reading over time. You recalibrate it, and then it's back, and then the drift comes again, and it's kind of a learning experience. I would not use it to guide whether to turn my CO2 on or off for sure. But I am not I'm not like anti measuring pH. I think measuring that stuff when you're new to CO2 is important. I think it kind of helps you learn what it's doing to your water, and in combination with watching your fish, you learn a bit more about it.
And I am anti measuring your pH. And that's because I know that pH meters kind of suck. And really, what you need to do is you need to observe your tank. You need to watch your fish. You need to watch your plants. It's there's no shortcut around it. It's
Yeah, I'm saying do that and more.
yeah. I just I would never use a pH controller because it's just another thing to fail. And don't you have enough stuff on your tank that can fail? I know I do.
Yeah.
Can and does.
So plant immunity. What do you
All
know about
right.
that?
So I actually took a class many, many years ago on plant molecular biology, and there are several things that plants do for immune response. So, for instance, if a plant is wounded, there's a callus control response. So it makes like some thickened tissue to close off the area. There is some hormonal mediated response. So plants do have an immune system, but it's really different than ours. A lot of it involves selectively killing that part of the plant and quarantining it off. So if you think about it, like a tree is mostly dead. Like all of the wood, the only part of the wood that's alive is the very, very outer layer, the cambium, which is it's meristematic tissue, the cork under the bark. That's all that's alive. Just the thinnest layer. All of the wood of the tree is dead tissue. That's xylem, which is tissue that's hollow for conducting water up it, right? And that's made of dead cells. And even in like, a herbaceous plant, like a green plant, a lot of those cells are dead. Like xylem is all dead tissue. So if a plant has an infection, it's not like, we are, where we're a whole system, right? And you're not going to cut off your arm. I mean, you maybe, if your infection is bad enough, you would cut off your arm to save your body, right? But probably you would try to save the whole arm first. But a plant can just grow another arm. It's really not that big of a deal.
They indiscriminately are like, well, that leaf sucks, so we're
yeah,
gonna
it's
go
like
ahead
goodbye. Yeah. So like the callus response, or just the response is more to just kill that part of the tissue, grow around it. So you don't see a lot of like systemic. There are some systemic responses, especially for like pests and other things. And it's different than ours. They don't have immune systems per se, but they do have pretty sophisticated ways of defending against pathogens. And fungal pathogens tend to be worse for plants than bacterial or viral. So.
So the plants do not have an antifungal defense?
Well, I mean, they do, but it's chemicals. So it's not like antibodies. They don't have like immune cells like we do.
And funguses can grow really fast.
Yeah. I mean, in humans too, like fungal infections in humans are the hardest to treat because a human cell and a fungal cell are a lot more closely related than a human cell and a bacterial cell because fungi are eukaryotes like we are. They have true nuclei. And so a lot of the drugs that would kill a fungal cell are also going to kill us. So, and they tend to have a lot of nasty side effects. So fungi are pretty difficult to treat. There aren't as many fungal diseases though as there are bacterial infections and viral infections for animals.
So Big Cat says we use Hayward pH ORP controllers that work for city pools, but there's also no living things in there I care about. Just
right. People. Yeah, exactly. And it's not a system that if it fails, I mean, yeah, it sucks if it fails. I mean, keeping a pool in working order is important, but if it is out of working order, you just close the pool and you call Big Cat to come fix it.
There you go.
But
it's a little far away from me, but
if your pH controller failed, well, what if it fails on and you kill all your fish?
Yeah, I definitely would not rely on that for CO2. I think having the CO2 schedule is, and then understanding like what it's the CO2 is doing, and like there's a lot of nuances you can learn with CO2 injection, how surface agitation affects it versus no surface agitation, how like that layer of grossness that sits on the top of your tank can hold in CO2, and you can, in theory, gas your fish with the same level of CO2 injection that you had yesterday versus the next day, depending on how trapped in that CO2 is.
Here's the thing I've done once or twice. Like I've accidentally filled my water level too high, so where it's touching the glass lid. I don't realize it, but I look over. I'm like, "What's wrong with my fish?"
Your corridors are like, "Holy crap! Where is the freaking water line?"
I know.
I've had that happen too.
Cories in this tank, and I did it here, and the rainbows are just like up at the top, gas going. I'm like, "Oh, whoops, sorry guys," and then I just lowered the level a little bit, and they were fine. But the number one thing to do, the best thing you can do for CO2 safety, get a good regulator.
Yep.
Don't get a cheap regulator. Get a good regulator. Don't get an F zone. Don't get a Milwaukee. Get a good regulator. Spend the money.
Yep. Spend the money up front. It all starts with the equipment that actually gets the CO2 into the water.
It's so much easier to adjust. So much easier. You can get your level dialed in 10 minutes. Whereas a Milwaukee, it will change from day to day. That's not supposed to happen.
Have you kept freshwater mangrove? Oinky would like to know. And thanks for being a member for 3 years, Oinky.
So I thought that mangroves were mostly saltwater, but could adapt to freshwater. Right? Aren't they? I mean, I'm not
something
a mangrove
like that.
expert.
I've never. Yeah. So to answer Oinky's first question is like, I have not kept freshwater.
I have not. And I guess the big reason for that is like, what's the point? Like for saltwater, there's like one plant you can grow out of your tank, and it's mangrove, and that's it. And it's not the greatest plant in the world because it gets enormous, it grows slow, it doesn't look that good, it looks fine. But like you can grow 1 million things out of your aquarium, including maybe orchids that look amazing and are easy to grow and not fussy. So there's kind of not a lot of point in my opinion. So the answer is no, I have not. And I don't think I ever will. If I have a saltwater tank though, maybe I'll grow one out of saltwater tank.
Branton said he has a red mangrove growing in freshwater currently. And is it flourishing? Is the question. And moose as well. And I think someone else said.
But they're not obligately freshwater, right? They are saltwater mangroves.
Rebecca says, I hear
right?
mangroves do better in freshwater. So I guess they do.
I mean, they are brackish plants, and they experience daily and tidally different salinity levels. That's that habitat. Mangrove swamps do.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on rainfall, depending on the tide, depending on the season. I mean, the rainy season, it's going to be a lot more fresh than salt. So they're very adaptable in that way. But they're still going to look like a mangrove, which, like, there's just better looking plants. Anyone know if Bob is planning to be live later? I don't know. Does anyone in the chat know?
He's been streaming the last couple of weeks. He doesn't always schedule it too far in advance. So I can't tell right now if he's got anything scheduled, but he didn't earlier. But it doesn't mean he won't.
It's not easy having a baby. Things are kind of day to day.
We tried to predict if he was streaming last week, and we were wrong multiple times. Like, yes, he's streaming. No, he's not.
No, he's not. Yeah. So I guess you'll just have to stay tuned. Scotty is definitely streaming. I saw he had scheduled it.
He'll probably go live as soon as we end.
I don't know if Hagen Hill Designs is.
They are scheduled, yep.
Okay, so there you go. You have options. All right, Dennis says you can check calibration every month with a controller and buy a new probe as needed. I've heard a lot more people killing their fish without a controller. I've heard more people. The number one reason people kill their fish with CO2 is because they buy a shitty regulator.
Yeah, I would say that's another numbers thing, because a lot of people have those F zones.
Don't buy a shitty regulator. And the thing is like you should be calibrating a pH controller way more than every month. If it gets dry, like during a water change, it should be calibrated. New probe, you should get one every year.
Yeah.
That's just more to worry about. That's just more to maintain.
And I agree with that. As someone who's I'm not anti pH meter, and I have multiple pH meters, and I have the continuous pH monitor, and I can attest that calibrating once a month is not quite often enough.
Yeah, it's just one more thing to fail, and I can tell you, I can promise you, you don't need it. Spend that money on a good regulator. The money
but the other thing though is
controller. Put it toward a good regulator.
If we're talking about measuring, like casually measuring pH and not to like get your approximate CO2 levels dialed in, then a pH range is all you need. Like, I don't care if in my non CO2 injected tanks, I don't care if my range is like 0.5. Like, I don't care, because I know what my buffer is doing. I know what the acids in the tank are doing. I know that I've got good gas exchange in it. And then if you have all of that, then pH takes care of itself.
And you don't need to know it if you've observed.
Right.
So,
well, I'm talking about non-CO2 injected tanks.
Right. Yeah. And non-CO2 injected tanks, I mean, the baseline pH measuring you can do with a test kit is fine.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that.
But
nice to know that.
You spend enough time with beginners and they get tunnel vision about every single parameter. They see that something's going wrong and they immediately go and test something. And if the test doesn't come out the way they expected, then that is where they hone in on. And pH is one of those wild things where they're probably not getting an accurate measurement.
I mean, because I have a lab background and I know that these are not buffers. This is mostly just water. It's very little buffer in it. Mm-hmm. This is not like, 20% tris buffer, right?
Right. The ionic strength is very low.
And I know how easy it is to change pH. And so I don't worry about it. I just don't worry about it. So, I mean, if it makes you feel good, Dennis, to spend the money on a pH controller, but I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it to anyone. It's another thing that can fail. And you could be spend that money on a good regulator, and that good
Yeah.
regulator will give you all the peace of mind you need. And I don't hear about people with good regulators having failures. Now, other things can fail.
Yeah.
You could have your dog run into your regulator and accidentally bump the handle.
Or just be forgetful like me and
Right. That can
move it.
happen too. I mean, you could accidentally knock over your cylinder. You know, those things can happen. You can accidentally have it adjusted wrong. But if you have a good regulator, it's not going to fail. But if you have a bad regulator, it could fail at any time.
Yeah, more important than a good regulator is a good needle valve. Needle
And a
valve is
good
crucial.
regulator will have it. I mean,
Yeah,
because most of us aren't building regulators. If you want to build your own regulator, more power to you. But I'm assuming most people in this community are not going to build one.
there's
So,
also the fact that like you've heard of the F zones doing the end of tank dump, and
yep.
that is not due to a failing needle valve. That is due to a failing working pressure, even if it's a dual stage regulator. So that is still important if you when your inlet pressure from your CO2 cylinder gets too low and your working pressure tries to overcompensate for that and it screws up and way overcompensates for it. That is how you get that end of tank dump.
So even
So
if you were to spend the money and put lipstick on a pig by buying an expensive needle valve and putting it on an F zone regulator, you'd still have problems. So just spend the money and get something good to begin with. You can buy one that is made by custom, like what is his name? Joshua Moa or something makes them.
yeah,
Or
Mike
you
Mike was
could
in popped in here. He knows.
sometimes you could make them yourself. There's plans. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. Or you could buy one from a good company like GLA, CO2 Art, SR Aquaristic. Just don't buy an F zone. And as WYP says, I know I've only been watching for a couple years, but I'm starting to pick up on Kelly's passion for buying a good regulator.
Yeah, if you're going to go that spending on plants and CO2 and probes and regulators, why risk fish health? Yep, and so that's your number one defense against your fish health is that good regulator.
Yep, just buy a good one. Just buy a good one. You think about how many thousands of dollars I have spent on rainbows. I mean, if my CO2 fails and my plants, it fails off and my plants look kind of miserable, whatever, they'll recover. If it fails on, the plants will love it. So that's not an issue. I don't worry about them. But my fish, I know what it's like to have a bad regulator fail, and it's heartbreaking to lose all your fish.
Mm-hmm. So always prioritize the fish health. So I mean, so like if buying certain things does give you peace of mind for that, then go for it. But I mean, I think there is like the hierarchy of security when it comes to CO2 injection and like the proper equipment that puts the CO2 in the tank is way top.
I think for a CO2 regulator though, it's false security because it could fail on.
Yeah. This is solenoid. If the pressure is too high, that solenoid will not close at all. If it's a crappy solenoid. So I mean, all the parts of a regulator are pretty important.
Yeah, and I don't trust anything that Milwaukee makes.
They make great power tools. You don't know what you're missing. I have a fantastic random orbital sander. Had it for, I don't know, 2 decades now. I don't know how long I've had it, a long ass time.
I'm trying to think if we have any Milwaukee tools. I don't know. I don't own a cordless drill. I just have Jake's. I don't use
Which hill will Kelly die on first? Buy a good regulator or aquariums or closed systems? I double hill, 1 foot on each.
I know. That's right. Twin pillars. They're the twin pillars of Kelly Rants.
Is it the same Milwaukee? I
don't know. I don't know.
I mean, companies do whatever the hell. Like, Michelin is like the authority on fine dining and tires.
But I don't know if they're the same like legal manufacturer. I mean, I've worked for companies and they have a legal manufacturer in Utah and a legal manufacturer in Europe and a legal manufacturer in New Jersey, and they never interact. So I don't know.
All of Jeff's cordless tools are Milwaukee.
All right, well there you go.
I like
Jeff
Milwaukee, and I
endorses
like
Milwaukee tools.
Ryobi. No, not
Ryobi?
Ryobi. No.
You don't like them?
Ryobi's the bad one. I don't like Ryobi.
Oh, but
Well,
the
I got them when their batteries are
DeWalt,
garbage.
DeWalt, that's one.
DeWalt. I have a DeWalt cordless drill I've had for a while. Batteries is really what pisses me off. So
I get
someone
that.
make some good batteries.
I don't know what my dad uses. I don't know. You know how much I think about cordless drills? Like never.
Today.
I personally am not willing to operate one. That is a hill I have already died on.
No DIY.
That's right. I'm not operating a cordless drill. I don't know. Not going to. That's Jake's job.
Lisa hasn't heard the argument about aquariums being closed systems.
Wow.
You know what? Let's shut this down now. It's not even in an argument. Aquariums are closed
It's
systems.
not an argument. So this is what this means, right? So if you have a fish out in nature, even a fish that is native to a smaller body of water, think how many gallons of water it's in. Think about my rainbows, for instance. So like a turquoise rainbow, isn't it native to is it Lake Kutubu? I can't remember.
That sounds right.
Ryan is in the chat. He will tell me. But it's huge. It's huge. It's a huge lake. One fish may not see the same molecule of water twice in a day. Yeah. Right? And they get rain from the sky. They get daily temperature changes from the sun going up and down. They get water flowing in from a stream. So they're open systems. But your tank is comparatively very, very small. And if you want, so for instance, a fish in the wild, there isn't there isn't someone coming along with their little container of magic nano food every day and sprinkling it in there. It's magic. Well, no, I have the old one, so it says nano.
Me too.
Food. I know, which is a good product. I endorse it. But there's no one sprinkling it in there, right? Because it's an open system. There's little tiny little micro shrimps and insects, and so the fish can eat that. But you wouldn't rely on your fish to eat whatever microfauna just happens to grow in here, right?
I will argue that you can do that in certain fish, is depending on how old the aquarium is, how much cleaning of it you do, how gross you're willing to let it look. You can get things like pygmy sunfish. You can kind of build, dare I say, food web for fish like that.
It's pretty unstable though.
A lot of things can go wrong. And you need a lot of water source, like refugiums or low stocking, to maintain that. Whereas in a lake, you don't, because there's lots of ecological room for that. And there's input from the sun, which is a much higher energy source than even a Chihiro's light. So you're adding energy in the form of fish food. Your plants also need added energy too. So they need fertilizers because your fish are not generating enough. And because it's a closed system, do you have a creek flushing it every day and bringing in fresh water? No. You got to do that. You got to do water changes because aquariums are closed system. So if you want to remove waste, you got to do it. I guarantee you will do it. I guarantee you someone is thinking my fish do provide enough waste to fertilize the plants.
I mean, and they might, but not in my case, because I'm providing so much energy to the system in the form of light.
Right.
And along with it, CO2, that I'm not getting enough to grow. And most people, if they have a lot of plants in their tank, they need at least a little supplemental fertilizing. At least a little, like once a week, a little shot.
Yeah.
Your plants really will do better. But the biggest thing with the closed system is there is nothing to remove wastes except for you. Your filter's not doing it.
The unmeasurable waste.
Nature's not doing it. Yeah. And the thing is,
nitrates.
They're like, but my nitrates go to zero. Well, there's more waste than that. There's organic wastes. And organic wastes are not metabolized by your plants. Your plants create organic wastes, but they don't remove them because plants fix carbon in the form of CO2. They're not taking up mold and turning it into plant tissue, right? Some bacteria will metabolize mold.
I mean, they're taking in the ions that are attached to the mold, but those can be depleted, and all you got left is just kind of organic crap.
But there's lots of organic waste. There's hormones, there's sugars, there's proteins, there's ammonia, or ammonia compounds like amino acids, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to be metabolized by plants. So the only way to get rid of that is to change your water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much you change your water is a personal decision. I like to do about 50 to 75% every week. However, maybe you do more, maybe you do less. But 0 is not the answer. 0 is not the answer.
It's a great question from 186 Element. If you guys checked your nitrates right now, what would it read? You only have 3 tanks to check.
I mean, I fertilized last night, so there's probably at least a little, but
like 6.
Oh God, yeah, maybe 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Yeah, I fertilize pretty heavy, but think about it. I have not just a full tank of plants with CO2, I light, but I have all these plants up here. See? All of those, they too need fertilizers. They need not just nitrates, but they need other fertilizers too. So, I have to add those I fertilize. Usually every time I feed, I fertilize just because it's easier for me to keep track that way. Some people, you can just fertilize all your NPKs on the first day. Micros, they break down, so you do need to do those a couple times during the week. But
yeah,
I doubt I'm measuring more than 5.
I have 20 tanks, and they're all going to be different. But just as like one example, this is a tank that I fertilize with a double dose of Easy Green once per day. And if I measured it right now, I would probably measure nearly, I haven't fertilized today, probably nearly at the bottom, like close to 0 nitrates from what I have been observing.
Yeah, and I'm fertilizing
very high energy.
1.5 doses in this one and 1 dose in this one. And I fertilize late at night. The lights have been on since noon. So there's probably some left, but not much. So, and even if my nitrates were like 40 or 50 ppm, I wouldn't worry. That's never going to happen. I mean, I just have too many plants. It's not going to happen.
And then let's go to the other end of like low light, low energy.
Yeah.
Very slow growing plants. I still fertilize a couple of times a week. There's like, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 600 pygmy cories in here, but they're all hiding because they heard me approach. Oh, there's one. There's probably on average, I would say in the like 20 ppm nitrates range. I don't worry about it too much. But I've got some tanks. The puffer tank, for example, that's a nitrate factory. But
the puffers are big. And that's the other thing too. I don't have any fish that I would say are big waste producers. Rainbows are not. They're not huge waste producers. They're not that big. I mean, they're pretty slim front to back. They're not. A puffer is a big fat fish.
Mm-hmm. So and I feed them many times a day.
Yeah.
Like when I see them, I'm like, all right, I've only fed you 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I also don't think I feed as heavy as you do because my fish are not as big as yours. I should feed them more, but I just don't think I do. So, but yeah.
So Corridora, Can fish even fertilize plants alone? Don't you need iron and magnesium and stuff that is usually in water?
They secrete some of that, and there's iron and magnesium in their food, and they don't eat all their food. Like some of it drops down into the substrate. Now, is that the right kind of iron though? We have a whole live stream about the redox state of iron. That was a tough one. We did that stream for one person, and that person isn't even here right now because it's Rotalatim.
Yeah.
But depending on what the redox state of the iron is, if it's ferrous or ferric oxide, it's not even that soluble by plants. So that can make a difference too. I think that even the slowest growing plant could use a little bit once a week. I think it will make a difference. But you can always try it and see what you think.
Yeah, and there's the trace elements that, like, you give a little bit of boost to that, and you'll notice some growth. But also, plants adapt to
fertilizing
nutrient.
Is a lot of trial and error. I mean, it's good to start with the package directions. I think the Easy Green bottle, it says for like lower light tanks with no CO2, like once a week.
Yeah, 1 to 2.
Yeah, and then like every other day if you have more, but I do a lot more than that. Steven does more than that. But that's through trial and error. And there can't be hard and fast rules for that because every tank is different. Everyone keeps different plants. They have different amounts of them. They have different water. So you do have to play around a little bit with that. And test kits, they don't really give you the full story because you're not measuring all the micros either with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So 50%, 75% water change weekly, you're going to crash your system. And yet I've been doing it for almost 5 years?
Me
and
too.
This system, I mean, does it look crashed? So, I mean, that's a pretty easy hypothesis to test, right? If your hypothesis is 75% water change will crash the system,
you have to incorporate you got to incorporate the nuances of that. Like, what if your water is disgusting? Then maybe that's a problem. What if you haven't changed your water in 2 years and you're doing a water change and you have no idea what your pH is in that tank and what your pH is out of your tap? There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
But I would just say that on hand, that hypothesis is rejectable because I've been doing it for years. And even before these tanks were set up, I've been doing it for years.
Rebecca's got us both beat with how often and how much she changes water. Also, Jose, Joy of Fish Keeping, changes more water than we do as well.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I had a flow-through system, Dan's Fish, how much are they? What's their flow-through rate? They change it like 100% every couple hours, right?
It's about, I think, if I remember correctly, I don't know if Johnny's listening, about every 45 minutes they get a full water change, and their fastest ones and then their slowest ones can be around a couple of hours. I don't remember like what their basis is for adjusting it, but that's a lot of water coming through.
So Dan's Fish is not really a closed system. It's an open system because it's from the creek.
Yeah, and they don't, and that is an example of fish that never see the same water molecule twice.
Yeah. I mean, they still have to feed them, obviously, because they're not getting food coming in. But, I think that everyone who works for Dan's Fish is a real believer that more water changes are better for fish. If I had plumbing set up on this tank, and someday, if I set up a really, really big tank, one of my priorities is going to be a plummet. Because I think if I could automatically change the water at least a little bit every day, it would be even better. And Ryan of Hoot Aquatics says our friend Dr. Peter Unmack, who is a rainbow fish taxonomist, he changes water until he sees the backs of the rainbows out of the water. There you go. Mean. Yeah, I mean, it goes down to like 95%.
I don't think that's necessary, but I mean, I don't think they love the whole like, oh, we're gonna die now, and then okay, the water's coming back. That's good.
I mean, there's nothing rainbow fish love more than clean water. So
I think I'd split that one up. Maybe if you want to change that much water twice a
I
week.
mean,
The one
the
thing
thing
I don't
is
like.
two small water changes are not the same mathematically as one big one.
Yeah, that is true. Because you're having it twice instead of like taking away a. But what I don't like when I do large water changes, so I try to keep a lot of equipment down towards the bottom. Is I don't like to turn off filters. I don't like to turn off heaters. I don't want to disrupt anything in the tank other than the water level.
Yeah, I don't want my heater to become immersed out of the water, because that's what leads to heater failure. So
it looks like steam thoughts are starting about an hour later than usual.
Okay.
But also, I just realized I forgot to share one more tank in which I've been messing around with nitrate levels, just because this is kind of from when we talked to Tom Barr, where if you have a reference system, you can perturb that system with just dumping in fertilizer and you won't get algae. And so I'm like, I wonder if that's true. And I would say in this tiny, very, very closed system that is this boost bowl, I'm keeping about 50 parts per million of nitrates just from fertilizer. Like I am going bonkers with the fertilizer.
And you could go higher. There's no inhabitants in there, right?
Yeah, I'm not trying to test the fish survival. I'm trying to test the algae and algae theory of like how much phosphate and nitrate and whatever else causes algae according to the internet this week.
Yeah. So we have lots of people in the chat talking about the water changes they do. Joy of Fish keeping 80%, 100% for discus. Sue Harkey does 50% on most tanks, but babies get even more. So, these big water changes clearly not crashing people's tanks. So is it possible?
No.
So WYP, I think, he has well water.
Yeah. Well, so for people listening, Scotty's asking, is it possible that WYP's tanks are too clean? Is that why he can't keep plants? He does frequent big water changes and has multiple filters on each tank. And
WYP's fish are very healthy, though. His fish are very healthy. WYP's water is very, very high KH. Very, very, very hard. And high KH water, doesn't matter how many water changes you do, it's going to make it harder to grow plants. But WYP's fish are very, very happy and very healthy. And they're very big. WYP has big fish. And also, as Zenny points out, he has nitrates that are thick straight out of the tap. That's well water, and that's from in the Midwest. We have a lot of farm runoff. And so nitrates, phosphates can be kind of high. In my case, in my tanks, it's not going to be a problem because my plants are going to metabolize it right away. I kind of wish that my drinking water didn't have a ton of nitrates in it. I don't think that's very good for me necessarily to drink.
And Mickey M says 100% agree with, never recommend to do large water changes for someone who has not been doing water change in that tank already. Because
my advice though is, these people, they're, if you're learning and you're brand new and you're about to set up a tank and you're getting some bad advice out there, bad advice from, let's call this person.
Don't even.
Let's call this person,
leave it at bad advice.
Daddy.
Oh no.
Daddy pescatarian.
Oh,
I don't know. Anyways, that person would tell you to never change water. Is that a good idea? If you look at people who follow his method, is that the kind of tank you want to have?
And if you do, then do it.
Then do it. Go forth. Be Daddy Pisces. Thank you.
So Lisa wants to know, what do I photograph with? And I photograph with a cracked screen Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. Emphasis on the cracked screen because sometimes it hurts my little finger when I touch it.
Oh.
I
So
don't like it.
is that your regular phone, or do you use a separate phone for photographing your fish?
It's my regular phone. I mean, it's
Oh,
not.
you just
It's
have a
just
cracked screen.
yeah, like
Yeah.
just on the corner. So if I'm trying to swipe anything on the corner, it
Oh, that
hurts.
sucks.
But yeah,
iPhones, they never crack.
that is a load of shit.
You've got to like really try to crack, and
Well, then I know a lot of people who have
this on
really
the
tried
floor
and
so many
succeeded.
times. I've not cracked it. Like, you really have to try.
Oh, I know
Dennis says
so
the cracked
many.
screen is what makes the photos. Crack your screen.
Yeah, there you go.
If it's not right to get
Forrest
the best
Pucky.
pictures. Yeah. I use an iPhone. I don't think that has anything to do with fish photography because I'm terrible at photographing fish, and I don't think a different camera would change that.
I'm not that great at photography either. I mean,
I
my
know,
trick
but
is tripod and turn off every single light. Wait till it's dark
yeah.
because there's a window in that room, and then it's a lot easier when you don't have to deal with
I
glare.
think that for photographing rainbows, you need to have species only tanks. It's just too hard when you have.
You need to
10
clove
different
oil them
kinds of
just a little
rainbows.
bit so they slow down. That's what you need
I
to do.
mean, in the
Don't
chat,
do that.
Ryan Hoon Aquatics, he's a good rainbow photographer. I'm terrible at it. I'm really bad.
Even the back of iPhones crack. Yes.
No,
Yes,
what?
they do.
What? I mean, I have the shittiest case ever on this thing. The case is currently broken because it was $7. It's fine. I mean, it's made of steel. How does it crack? Could it crack? How can you crack a steel case?
Lisa said, my husband isn't even in the house and he just shouted, see, I'm right about the Samsung photography. I mean, it's a great, I mean, phone cameras are all
they're really good.
really good.
They're
Especially
really
if you get like
True.
the latest, greatest flagship phone of the year. They're really good.
Yeah, I did not update my phone this year because I just decided I needed a break from buying a phone. But I'll get one next year. Because it's like when I update it every year, I'm like, didn't I just spend I get a bunch of money? Like, come on. Coreworks is admonishing me. If it was worth a damn, you wouldn't have to buy a case for it. At some point, the industry started screwing us. You know why I have a case for it? Because I want whales on my phone. That's why I have it. I am under no illusion that this is giving me any protection for my phone, but Apple does not make a whale phone. Maybe they will someday, but I doubt it.
And I put a case on my phone because I didn't like how slick the back of it was. It kept sliding out of my hand.
That makes sense.
And I don't like pop sockets. I think they're too bulky and obtrusive.
I don't hold my phone that way. Also, I don't have the great big phone. I don't like that one. I buy the smaller iPhone. I don't like the big one. Notice that Samsung people always get the giant one. I don't like that. All right, Ryan suggests fast shutter speed and above tank flash. There you go, for a more natural light angle than side flash. Burst mode and prey. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah, I've noticed that Gary also uses an external flash. So I think that Jason on Rainbow Fish Live, he lives in Ireland. He takes really good photographs too, but all of his tanks are lit with sunlight. The rainbows look really pretty in sunlight.
Yeah.
Nice. It's just not an option for me. I don't have any natural light really coming in here. So
Jose says everyone's afraid to say the name. I'm not afraid to say the name. I'll say it. Voldemort. I mean, no, just I'm of the opinion that we can do a lot more good by just talking about how we personally do tanks and showing the results it gives, and people can make their own decisions. And we can talk about like how we feel that no water changes can be bad husbandry. Certain practices don't apply to everyone. There's a lot of nuances. There's so much diversity. And so I don't think we necessarily have to go after individuals. I'm seeing channels out there that are going hard against the human and not so much against the fish keeping practices.
Right. And
I don't think there's any use in that at all.
I think it's okay to mention the person because we're attacking that, or we're discussing that person's methods. We're not attacking their character or what they look like or who they are as a person. We're saying they're mean or stupid. We don't engage in personal attacks. We don't do that. But it's okay to criticize people's methods. It's okay to disagree with what other people do.
Yeah.
But it's not cool to be a dick to
No.
We're not going to do that. Maybe we'll be a dick to Matt. But Matt kind of likes
He's not even here, is he? Unless he's
Where is he? He kind of likes it.
We can redirect all of our assholishness to Geek.
It's
and
true.
I think Mike is probably lurking too.
It's true. And Mike he kind of likes it too. Leave character assassinations to Kendrick. There you go. We are never going to have diss tracks from what.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's just not. Steven,
we'll never be at that masterful level tracks. Either, you know.
It's true. It's true. Oh, God. We're never going to play the Super Bowl and be like, you don't change your water, asshole. I mean, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. Unless we can get really clever with the lyrics. So I'll see what AI can do.
It's true. Well, I mean, Steven, you could write probably pretty clever lyrics.
So Lando, Start Fresh Aquatics member for 13 months, says, wowzer, welcome.
Wowzer, indeed. I mean, I don't know how many months I'm up to. Because I was an OG member.
Probably 3. I think it's
3 years,
38 months is the earliest.
Something like
so somewhere in that range.
I mean, I joined within a couple days, so.
Oh wait, Branton's here. This is where we can direct all of our mean comments.
We're not personally attacking you. The wheel attacks you.
Yeah, Wheel hates him.
The wheel.
I played for him in a giveaway yesterday on Jeff's stream, and the Wheel was like, I know who you're playing for.
Jenna says it's maybe 38 months. Yeah, probably 38 months. I am the #1 OG member for Foxanne. I was I'm a member before Peplin. The first member.
I think I'm in maybe the top 10 on our channel.
Probably. Like, but I'm #1.
Yeah. So
Nickam says, I love my planted gravel bottom tanks. Makes me have to do less maintenance, but you need to learn in what way and how often. But you still do some. You're not doing no water changes ever. Like, you're still doing some. And everybody has a cadence that works for them and their fish. Some people are doing one water change a month.
There are some tanks where, like, if I'm okay if I skip a water change, and in those tanks, it's like I only have to do a water change. I don't have to trim anything. I don't have to trim anything for a year.
Well, I don't do much trimming. I mean, clearly, God, these things are
save it all for the clash. Let the jungle take over.
I brought so many plants to the clash. It looked like I hardly made a dent, though. But every tank is different. Every fish is different. Rainbows really need more. They need clean water more than other fish, I would say. But like Corridoras, they're a little more tolerant.
Jody P is still pretty new here.
That's okay. It's not a race.
Jeff says there does need to be the balance and checks in the community as well. Things can get way out of hand if there isn't. I agree with that too. I just don't know if I want to be the one to stir up the mold. I think I just want to sit here in my little chair with my little fishies in my tanks and put a camera on them every now and then. And that's what I do. But yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think there are other people that maybe we're being nice to who are more willing to stir mulm than we are. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So,
But see, in my opinion, I think people see what they see, and I don't know if anyone as an individual can change that.
it's true.
So
And the proof is in the pudding.
yeah,
I
things tend to work themselves out.
I've yet to see a good looking tank that you put no work into.
Yeah,
If you're like, I haven't changed water in 2 years of having this tank up, haven't cleaned the filter, haven't done anything, I've yet to see a tank that looked good like that.
Geek has been flushing money 38 months. So that is, what is that? $76.
And what have you gotten in return for that?
Duckweed
and Rotalas.
KR, that's a new name. Welcome in. I think I saw your name earlier and I forgot to acknowledge you. So thank you for staying so that I can acknowledge you now. It says Keystone Clash. Is that the only Clash? There's also a Clash of Clans mobile game that I don't want to play. But
I mean, there's Clash like if you were wearing like plaid with like yellow pants or something, that's Clash. It's a thing.
Nabokov says summary of the day. Shipping fish, shrimp is stressful, but it's whatever. When you don't do it normally and all of a sudden have to do it, you realize how much easier it would be in a normal setup. Oh my God. If I had to like scoop fish out of my heavily planted tanks on a regular basis, I would not do it, or I wouldn't have heavily planted tanks.
I mean, if you come to my house, I'll give you all the plants you want. But man, I fucking hate going to the post office.
Yeah.
Such a drag.
Bougie Bish Fish with the $5 super chat. Don't miss next week's stream. She's very confident that she's going to feel better. She's getting over COVID right now, and she'll be joining us.
I hope you feel better, but take your time. You don't need to push. We're not going anywhere. You can be on the week after if you need a little more time to get back.
No rush, but also if you're down for it Monday, then so are we.
Yeah, I agree. Until then, you got to rest up. That's your homework. Got to rest.
Here for any stories about the Keystone Clash now that I know it's not a rock concert.
It's kind of a rock concert because Ted Coletti sings at it. Ted Coletti, he sings and he does a sing-along. He plays guitar, and that's really fun. So it's kind of a rock concert. It's just really, really nice to see friends. It's so nice. And there are so many friends that I get to see there. It's hard even to spend time with all of them because there's so many friends there. The vendor room is really, really incredible. I spent a bunch of money there. So much money. I bought some really great rainbows there. I bought some really great plants. I brought some cool merch. The fish show has how many entries did it have last year? Over
X 300, over 300. I don't know. It broke the record. It was a lot.
Yeah, and I judged rainbows. That was pretty fun. The aquascaping, Stephen and I both judged that. That was really cool. People scaped some nice looking tanks. So you can participate in the aquascaping. I know they had opened it up. Have they sold out? There's only like 15 spots.
I think aquascaping is still open. I think the one thing that you need to consider is the hotel if the rooms aren't already gone. Because what the hotel does whenever the blocks open, you get that group discount, is they raise the non-group rate by like a ridiculous amount.
Right.
So yeah,
but,
I don't know if any more will open up in the blocks, but yeah.
This year there's an extra special event at the Clash, and that is the wedding of Foxy and Peplin. And that's Friday night, right? Friday night?
Yep.
Friday
night at 10 o'clock. I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, I know I'll be there.
I'll do what I'm told when I arrive. I've got to get fitted for my groomsman costume sometime this month. I think the 15th.
and they want me to do something, and I have no idea what. Like they're
That
like,
might
"Oh,
be something.
we've got something for Kelly. We've got to remember to talk to her." No one's
Well,
talking to me yet. I don't know.
eventually, somebody will.
So, but I'm very excited to attend that. Um, yeah. So it's if you can make it, it's really a good time. It's really a great time. Great show, great people, good stuff. All right, Coreworks. Any sales you're waiting for tub season? Um, so right now is a good time if you want to buy a lotus. The vendor I like to buy from is 10 Mile Creek Nursery, and they do sell out of some varieties. So you can reserve them and they'll ship them to you at a time appropriate for your growing zone. That's also like water lily places. So like you can order right now from like Lily Ponds is a really nice place to order from. And they'll ship it to you when it's appropriate. So like Steven, they would ship it to you right away because it's good time for you to order. Don't order a lotus though, Steven, because I'm going to give you a couple to try. If you're getting that new pond set up, I think some of them might be able to take shade.
I'm picking it up on Saturday.
Yeah, if they don't, you'll be out nothing because
Okay.
I'll send you a couple to try. So they might work. I think, and you could maybe divide the water lily you have and try it in there. You might not get many flowers.
Well, I
You'll
don't get
get
many
pads at least
already because I forget to put the root tabs in there.
Well, that's.
I'll get better about that, and I'm gonna.
At least when you divide it, you'll fertilize it, and so you'll get some going for a while. And dividing it will really, really help. One Visa is a variety that needs to be divided a lot.
I'm going to change out the substrate with clay soil, so maybe that'll help a little bit.
Yeah, it'll help a lot. It'll help so much. I've noticed a huge difference in my lotuses and water lilies using clay substrate. I will probably order maybe one more lotus because I'm phasing out my bigger ones for smaller ones. I was pretty happy with most of the varieties I grew last year. I think I want to try a new one. I do different water lilies all the time, though Ted Coletti and I are doing a plant trade. So, yeah, for me, like my big issue right now is like I'm dahlia acquiring because 'tis the season to buy tubers for dahlias. This is when all the sales are happening. So I'm not really thinking too much about tubs yet. It's still really cold here. But Steven, like
you didn't do your tubs till like June last year, right?
I start doing them. I start doing them in May. Usually, maybe like last week of April, depending on weather. Otherwise, May I start doing a little bit, and then we do our big push. Memorial Day weekend. That's what we do. But for you should do it before it gets hot.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm getting that. Getting the tub Saturday. Going over barbecue at my parents' house. I think I have to like connect his printer to Wi-Fi or some like old people technology thing I have to do.
You say that, but like I called you for tech support last night.
yeah, but this is like connecting to Wi-Fi.
Oh,
you can connect to Wi-Fi.
I could connect to Wi-Fi. This was an esoteric tech question.
So. Yeah. So
WYP, it is indeed the day.
It is Rico Day.
Yeah, we wished him a happy birthday at the beginning of the stream, but we'll do it again. It's also Daniel Velez's birthday. Happy birthday to both of them. We hope you have a wonderful day. We hope you eat lots of cake.
Oh no, Joanne's Fabrics is going out of. I think I knew that a long time ago.
Yeah, I
think Annette was talking about that because she really likes.
Yeah, I don't buy my yarn there, but a lot of women do. But for fabric, like, I don't really know. I mean, you can go to Michael's or something.
I don't have yarn.
Oh, well, I have more than enough for both of us. I have a lot of yarn. Not as much as most knitters do, but I have a lot. I'm kind of a yarn snob, though. I'm sure this will surprise no one. Yarn snob. So I didn't buy much yarn at Joann's because I like bougie yarn. All right, Oinky, can I say something real quick on a personal level? On this, the 3rd anniversary of my finding this channel was one of the best things that ever happened to me. Well, Oinky, you're one of the wonderful things that's happened to us. And when I
Absolutely.
think about wonderful things about the Clash, you get to see Oinky, and you get to see her with her cape and hat with all her little plushies.
I feel bad that she has not won plushie off the wheel in a while. She was winning so many of them, and then the wheel turned against her.
I know. I mean, if you don't really want a plushie, you should send it Oinky's way because it will have a lot of friends. So yeah, that's one of the great things of the Clash. You get to see Oinky, and Oinky will get to see Ed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a good time if you can make it. Like, I get it. If you live in like Seattle, it's real far for you. You're gonna have to fly, and it's a lot. I get that. But if you can make it, like, we're in driving distance, so we drive there. It is a good time.
Big Cat said my headphone cut out. The stream diverted to one of our work trucks. My coworker came in and said, "What the hell are you listening to in there?"
I hope I was ranting about something.
Lots of reasons to rant.
Gil's Garden says, meeting adjourned. Hello, my fishing friends. I'm glad you are free from your corporate meeting.
Yeah.
God, I had so many dumb meetings today. They're all worthless.
Oh, shit, Coro. I think you're absolutely spot on with that. Stopped using the StreamYard giveaway tool. Well, no, what happened is I stopped using the wheel of names, like manually adding them from Nightbot. We used StreamYard giveaway tool for a few things, but she did win a lot of plushies from the manual wheel.
I mean, I am unwilling to say that the wheel hates Oinky because I think the wheel has 100% directed its hatred to Branton.
Yeah.
I mean,
just a lot of energy
focused.
It takes for that much hate.
And I just can't imagine anyone or anything directing hate toward Oinky, especially when you could just hate Branton.
At least Branton got his plants today.
That's good.
There's a few. So like there are 3 boxes I sent out on the 11th that are in limbo that I'll have to reship. And then there's one of them to MNC that like is going, it went into that arriving late limbo. So yeah, post office is not being kind at all. So Jose says, I feel bad for new people coming into the hobby, can be misinformed. Yeah, because someone has secondary reason to preach something and admit is not the whole truth, and sensationalism to grow business. Yep, that is a problem. Yeah. And it is not limited to one channel either, unfortunately. Right. It is a social media problem, and it is spread across all hobbies, all subjects. Yeah. It sucks. And yeah.
It makes me really appreciate like Aquarium Co-op. I don't agree with Aquarium Co-op on 100% of things. That's fine. But it's really nice to see a channel with 100, like a million followers, somewhere around there.
Something like that.
It's pretty good quality information. It's a good place to start. You will at least
like as a beginner, like that is where I got like 98% of my information just to like get off the ground as like, because we all start off as a complete know-nothing beginner at some point in our lives. And then it's like what direction you go can make or break how long you stay in this hobby.
I mean, I do believe you can keep healthy, thriving fish. I think, if you want to take on more advanced topics using CO2 and things like that, you're probably going to look for other resources, which is fine. But
Yeah.
it's very reassuring to me that such a big channel does provide pretty good quality information.
Yeah.
Very trustworthy. That's not always the case. You know, there are some channels in this hobby that are really big where I don't think you get as good of quality.
Well, I mean, and then there's like not even just from the
No.
the ones that talk that maybe preach not so great husbandry, and more so just the straight up fish abuse channels that
I don't like
when someone
that's
thinks of fish
pretty
tube and all they've ever seen is like Catch 'em All or whatever they are. I'm not afraid to say that
I've
name.
never watched those. I block those. You know, at least like with some of the channels, like at least they have the intent is not malicious. They intend to keep a healthy system. But
Right.
like with the catch 'em all stuff, like
That's just click farming is all that is.
yeah, and I really don't like that. I don't like that. So
Yeah, it is
Jenna
a broad sweeping social media problem.
yeah, you know, it's just it can be hard to know who to trust. It can be hard to know who to trust. We do our best here. I think at least we admit when we don't know something because we don't know a lot of things. So
I don't know how to make shit up if I don't know. So I don't know. And then I just say, hey, does chat know?
you know, I'm too lazy to make shit up.
Let's go to Chat GPT, have it make something up.
Oh God. Jenna asked me if I can knit a penguin. I mean, I can. Does someone need me to? Like, I have not been formally asked to knit a penguin, but I can knit one.
Yeah.
Have I knitted one before? I maybe have knitted one before. Because I knitted my dad a polar bear a few years ago. I seem to think I knitted him a penguin too. I've knitted my dad a lot of toys. Oh, Zenny says groomsman costume. I cannot knit a peplin-sized costume. He is a large mammal. And even if he were a smaller mammal, that's a lot of knitting. I mean, this took like 3 months. So no.
Yeah. Yeah, Jody said absolutely was hard to figure out who to trust when I first started. Happy to have found a great community with knowledgeable people.
Well, we're glad you found us. And it is hard to know. You know, it's hard to know. Daniel Velez is here. Says I was wondering why this guy was saying, damn, Daniel.
Damn, Daniel, it's your birthday.
Happy birthday. I hope you're getting some good cake today with your family. Everybody deserves birthday cake.
So we got to end this stream so that I can eat, and I could probably talk about this for way too long. Moose,
more than I could, yeah.
What is the future of human beings with AI becoming so prevalent?
Yeah.
A little bit of confusion and chaos and a whole lot of skepticism.
Yeah. I will leave you with a quote. So the new AI, is it DeepSeek, the one that's all the buzz about?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're always kind of in competition.
Yeah,
and
this is the
DeepSeek, I think, is the
newest
one from China.
Yeah. Anyways, someone asked it what it was, and it said, I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger. That's kind of fucking terrifying. So there you go. I am what happens when you try to carve God out of the wood of your own hunger.
And we can't leave it at that because thank you, Dennis, for the $5 super chat. Not sure you're going to like this answer from Kelly, but
yeah,
he would like to know, Kelly, what is a good pH checker for use and calibration?
Like the buffer, like the storage buffer, like the calibration buffer. Any of them are fine. They're all equivalent. Yeah. They're all any of them are fine for for calibration. It doesn't matter which one you buy. They're all validated. And the yellow one is pH 7. Can't remember the colors of the other ones. But yeah, it doesn't matter. So
Yeah. And so Jose earlier appreciated the good science that comes from you, your real breath of fresh air, and then he kind of tagged me on there as well, like because I am here, I'm technically present.
You're more than just here. You're my, can't do it without you. I mean, I could.
Not on this channel, you couldn't. No,
it's true.
You don't have the password.
I don't have the password. I mean, if you can't do it, we're not having the stream that week. I guess Jenny could do it. She has the password, but she has to get dinner ready.
Yep. And so thank you, Dennis. And then Jose, thank you for the $9.99 super chat.
Thank you, Joy. Joy of fish keeping. Thank you. Coral Works says, if I ever visit Portland, you have Mill End, which is amazing, and local yarn shops. They're cool. And there's alpaca farms. I got to tell you, you can make Jake do just about anything if he gets.
You get yarn straight from the source.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if you've ever petted an alpaca, but it's awesome. They're awesome. Their little noses are so soft, and they're so cute. They're so cute. So, I mean, one more reason to visit Portland. I mean, I would like to go to Portland. I have lots of friends there, and Portland's awesome. What would I put in a 5.5 gallon? Shrimp.
Probably.
Shrimp. Depends on what your water is like for what kind of shrimp. I'm not a super shrimp expert.
Maybe a scarlet batis,
maybe a betta if you're a betta person. I'm not, but shrimp. I would do shrimp. Wow.
And with that, hungry, need food. See y'all Friday for McStreamy, and next week we'll have Bougie Bish Fish on with us for Weather Plants.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, super chatters, and thank you to our wonderful mods. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and our lurkers, and our replay crew. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.